But for now, let's get back to the Middle East issues and catch up with Peter Jennings from Strategic Analysis Australia, joining us live from Canberra to get the latest analysis. Thanks for joining us again, Peter. It's astonishing to see the way these world events play out now in the digital age, especially with someone so addicted to social media as President Donald Trump, because we saw this Truth Social post go out overnight, obviously directed at Iran, the President of the US saying unconditional surrender. Now, this is not a declaration from him. He's not surrendering to anyone. This is very much a demand to the Ayatollahs in Iran. What do you make of it?
Well, I thought back, of course, to the Second World War unconditional surrender of Germany, which meant, of course, no negotiations with the Nazi regime, with hundreds of thousands of troops occupying the country at the time, and nothing like that prevails in Iran or will prevail. So goodness knows what Trump is really thinking. But to try and put some interpretation into it, I guess there's really two things which I think the regime has to give up completely if it can be allowed to survive at all. And that is, firstly, nuclear weapons, and let's say then chemical and biological, and they've got to do that in a way which means that people can come in to determine the fact that those weapons have been given up. And secondly, they've got to break all ties with terrorist organisations, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis and so forth. And, these things are so sort of deeply entwined into the DNA of the regime in Iran. I can't see how they could give those things up.
Yeah.
And really what that comes to, Chris, is that, it's one thing to, say, destroy the nuclear weapons program, but if you've still got the people in power that actually created that in the first place, what have you actually achieved?
Look, the other extrapolation from what President Trump is saying in social media is that, of course, at the moment, America is not involved militarily directly. Isn't he at least implicitly threatening that America will actually join this war?
Oh, absolutely. And that's been clear, and the Americans have made no secret. They are preparing the ground for military intervention. They're pushing aircraft and ships into the region, which makes that possible. And along with everybody else, I accept that, a number one purpose of that must be to use the so-called mother of all bombs, the thing that can dig down deep enough to hit those nuclear centrifuges in the mountain at Fordo. And perhaps one or two other targets besides. So I think that is, Trump can choose not to do this, but I think it's highly likely that we will see some American strikes on those facilities, perhaps by the end of the week, Chris.
Yeah, that's what it's been looking like, hasn't it? I want to show you another post from Donald Trump. This one's more specific and indeed more personal. It's essentially a threat to the Ayatollah. He says, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target, but he's safe there for now because they're not going to kill him. But he's basically suggesting that we will take you out if you don't unconditionally surrender.
Trump has done this before with Taliban leadership in Afghanistan. It's not a bad way of persuading your enemy that they need to think carefully about their next move. And I don't know that Trump can necessarily speak either for the Israelis or for Mossad. So one thing that the Israelis have demonstrated in the last week is they know where a lot of the senior leadership of the Iranian political regime is, plus their military, plus their intelligence services and their scientists. So it's a complex time to be a senior Iranian leader in many fields these days, Chris.
Absolutely. They have been extraordinary in targeting them. And if you've got any influence in that regime at all, you would be very, very worried at the moment. Thanks so much for joining us, Peter. I appreciate it as ever.